Welcome back to Undisputed. Fox Sports NBA analyst Steven Jackson is joining us now from Minneapolis. Steven, you were extremely close with George Floyd. You have been incredibly strong throughout all of this for George's family, just your strength in doing all these interviews and being on the ground in Minneapolis. Just want to check in about your emotions today ahead of the memorial service in Minneapolis.
All over the place. At the end of the day, I'm thinking more about Gigi, Roxy, and his family. That's what most of my heart is at, thinking about them. It's going to be a tough couple of days for them, and I'm just trying to be strong for them. I'm standing for the family. I'm standing for Gigi and Roxy, and I got to be strong for them. I really don't even care about how I feel. I'm concerned about how I feel. I'm just trying to be strong for them.
Stacks, you've been in Minnesota basically the last 10 days. And so how is the mood? What's the tone like in Minnesota yesterday, today, compared to what it was over the last 3 to 4 days?
Well, you still can feel the rage in the city, Shannon. You still can feel the rage in the city. And the city is not just happy with those guys getting arrested. This city has the same hurt and the same passion as the family has. And one thing I got to say every time I get on TV, I got a lot of love for Minnesota, man, because they really trying to fight for what's right here. And I'm right in the fight with them. And I appreciate everything they've done in Minnesota, but the fire's still lit here. We haven't put the fire out here. We're going to keep going until we get justice.
So, Steven, how did the family and those close to it feel about the upgraded charge to second-degree murder against Derek Chauvin and then the arrest and the aiding and abetting charges against the other 3 policemen?
It's a step in the right direction, but, you know, at the end of the day, Skip, you already know we want convictions. We want guys in jail. We want guys to be in jail and treated the same way they would treat one of us. And it's plain and simple, Skip. It ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science. We just want to be fair. We want them to treat them just as they'll treat any other black man for murder. And that's just the tale of it, Skip. It's not hard at all.
Stacks, as Jenny alluded to earlier, you were very close to George. Do you think George ever thought that he would be the rallying cry? He might be the watershed moment that would get change, would bring about change in America? Nah,
I know he wouldn't have thought that. Trust me, if he had a chance to fight for change and stand for change, he definitely would. I've been with his brother Milton. They call him Popo. I've been with him every day, and he said, Floyd, you should tell him all the time. One day, George, you're going to get us at the top. One day, George, you're going to get us at the top. But we never know it'll be this way. But his whole family's life is going to change. His daughter's life is going to change from going from this. And he changed the world, like Gigi said. So he wouldn't have predicted this, but he definitely would have wanted it.
So, Steven, I don't want to make too much of this, but you have talked about how you and George were like twins, quote unquote twins, because you look so much alike. As Shannon just mentioned, you've been there now since basically the start for 10 days. Do you feel like you've almost had to sort of stand in for George, like to become part of George for the family's sake, for the daughter's sake, for everybody's sake? Just that you're there now as the twin brother.
Well, I think this whole situation would have been different, Skip, if I would have stepped up. If I would have stepped up, got in front of the media, got ahead of this thing when this happened to my brother, I don't think it would have got the attention it got. You know, I don't think the world would have got behind it like they got behind it. It's a lot of people that love me, Skip, and it's a lot of people that know I love everybody. And I think it's more people that love everybody than more people that hate. And every once in a while, Skip, God brings somebody around to save this place called America, because God getting upset. And if we don't get these things right, He's going to come take us away. So I think He sent me to try to get things right, because I love everybody. And I hopefully people will follow me.
Stacks, when you look at the protest that's growing around in America, and I thought when we talked with Skip and I had this conversation on Monday, I thought the temperature was going to come down, the protests would start to dissipate, but they're growing in size. If you look at what's going on in New York, you look at what's going on in LA, in San Francisco, and some of these other communities. Yes, there's no more, I don't see the rioting and the looting that was going on, but the volume of people that are coming out and saying justice for Jordan, no justice, no peace. The people that are getting arrested showing their support says we sincerely won't change in America. Did you anticipate that it would grow this big and would be able to sustain itself for this long?
Not at all. No, I couldn't have predicted this, Shannon, but I understand it. I understand why. There's so many cases where we never got justice. There's so many people hurting. There's so many people that stand on the side of right. There's so many people that stand on the side of love. And I think that's what's showing. People are tired. Everybody around the world that loves everybody came together. And this is the first time, Shannon, that all 50 states protested at the same time. This is the first time. So this should say something. People just have to open their eyes. Everybody's saying the same thing. We want justice. Everybody's saying we want everybody to be treated fairly. So we just have to listen. And if the president's not going to stand up and lead, hell, I'll take the lead.
So, Stephen, help us out here. Have you heard anything about Derek Chauvin, the cop who I think murdered, obviously, George Floyd, having crossed paths with George before? Because as we now all know, Chauvin he worked security at a nightclub for about 17 years. He would sit outside in his police cruiser out in the parking lot of the nightclub. And for the last year, George Floyd worked inside security. Is it possible they had crossed paths? Is it possible they had had an incident or had any previous animosity or bad blood? Because this might come up in the trial. Have you heard anything from any of the insiders or the family about any conflict they might have had in the past?
No, I haven't, Skip. I have heard they worked at the same club, and it's kind of hard to work at the same club and not see each other, kind of not have any contact. But me knowing Floyd, just like me and his brother Paul Milton was talking, that video looked personal. You know, it's too many situations in that video where we know our brother and we know it looked personal. Especially when they were walking, when they put him in cuffs and he was walking off and he dropped to his knees. That's the sign of no, I don't want to go. I know what y'all gonna do to me. But my brother wasn't weak like that to just drop to his knees. He knew what was going on. And I hope everything comes out, Skip. But trust me, I'm gonna get more because I'm here doing my own investigation. Because if I can help in any kind of way, that's what I'm here to do.
Well, bro, you're to be commended. And I know that, look, the thing is that your relationship that you had with George, there's no doubt in my mind, if the shoe was on the other foot, he would be right there for you and your family, fighting, trying to lead a charge for change. So I commend you, Stacks. It's an unbelievable job what you've done. You should be proud. I know, not proud of the moment, but proud of how you've been able to handle this situation. And hopefully, this is the watershed moment. Hopefully, this is the thing that brings about change, that we get treated fairly, that in America, that we're American citizens and we're treated just like our counterparts. Nothing more, nothing less.
That means a lot coming from you, so thank you.
Stephen, we love you around here. We're going to be thinking about you today, thinking about George's family. The image of Gigi on your shoulders is what I'm going to be picturing specifically today, and we just want to thank you for joining us. Stay strong, and we'll check in with you soon.
Yeah, see y'all later.
Thanks, Stephen. All right, next up on Undisputed, a coach's much-needed apology. Stay with us.